You all set? We are. Okay. Good morning. I'd like to call the September Finance Committee meeting to order at this time. And I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the prior committee meetings. Mr. McDevitt, seconded by.
I'll second, John Stroud.
Okay, thank you, John. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the action agenda. Request for transfers of funds is attached for the committee approval. We've all had a chance to look those over, so would someone like to make that motion to the transfer? Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. 2, request from the county treasurer. Request to authorize Glens Falls National Bank and Trust Company to issue a letter of credit in the amount of $253,500 on behalf of Warren County to Blue Shield of Northeastern New York as an alternative to pre-funding the health insurance account. Mike, would you like to speak to that?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, we do this every year. Blue Cross and Blue Shield requires that we have basically a reserve of $253,000. It changes every year, but they want $253,000 in an account so that if we don't pay our monthly bill, they can access this to take care of what we haven't paid. We have not, and I will say this emphatically, we have not missed a payment with them since I've been here. So.
Okay, very good. Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Molina. Any discussion? Any questions? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Mike?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Nothing else?
No.
Okay. 3, referral from the County Facilities Committee, Buildings and Grounds. Request to appropriate funds in the amount of $25,000 from the budget code A.871.00 reserve rehab county buildings to budget code A.1620413 buildings repair and maintenance building property for elevator repairs and upgrades. Someone like to make that motion? Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 4, referrals from the Criminal Justice Committee. Assigned counsel. A, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $21,476 to reflect the receipt of New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services Herring Year 2 grant funds. Someone like to make that motion, bring it to the floor. Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. B, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $5,383 to reflect the receipt of New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services grant funding provided under distribution number 10, contract C100052. Someone like to bring that one to the floor. Supervisor Molino, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 5, referral from the Economic Growth and Development and Higher Education Committee, Employment and Training Administration. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $693,385.90 to reflect the receipt of Federal Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act and TAMP funds for program year 2020. Someone like to make that motion? Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6, referral from the Health Services Committee, Public Health. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $150,000 to reflect the receipt of funding from Health Research Institute to support current expenses related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Someone like to bring that motion to the floor?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Supervisor Conover, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Referral from the Public Safety Committee, Office of Emergency Services. Request to appropriate funds in the amount of $677.22 from Budget Code A.895.00 Computer Reserve Fund to Budget Code A.3640220.1 Civil Defense Office Equipment Reserve for the purchase of a new computer. Someone like to make that motion. Supervisor Barry, seconded by Supervisor Molino. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. B, request to increase capital project 8.254 Fire Training Center project in the amount of $12,907.93 to reflect reimbursements received from Washington County through July 31st, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
Supervisor Stroud? All right, is second. Supervisor McDevitt. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Referrals from the Public Safety Committee, Office of Emergency Services. We'll continue down from that. C, the request to amend the county budget in the amount of $14,364 to reflect the receipt of local emergency management performance grant funds. Someone would like to make that motion. Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Molino. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Ooh, this is an exercise in reading today. Referrals from the Public Works Committee, DPW. A, request to post several capital projects and return remaining funds to the funding source. Capital projects names and remaining balances are listed in the agenda attached. Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Molino. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Chairperson?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Is there a way to do all these referrals all at once, or do we have to do them all individually?
I don't know, I'll have to refer to.
You can make the motion and bring them all together.
She's
There's no separate resolutions. It'll just be the motion that you're approving.
Okay, I would so move it.
All right, which ones do you want to put all together, Mr. McDevitt?
Just all of it.
B down through M?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. McDevitt is making that motion, a second to that motion. Supervisor Garrity, any discussion? I don't know. All right, Supervisor Bramer.
Looking through the only one I still have a question about is the Sagamore Road retaining wall issue.
That was the one I was going to bring up because we had kind of gotten a little memo from Mr. Lynch saying maybe we should think about taking the money from some other source, but I'm sure this committee makes that decision. So
I'd be more than happy to exclude that and
put all the,
with the exception of that one. And that can be discussed.
okay, so we could do the B through K because L and M would basically go together, right? Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second to the motion. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right. Any more discussion? Like all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, let's then take a look at L. Request for a transfer of funds in the amount of $100,000 from the contingent account, budget code A, like 1990469 to budget code 8.9950910. Transfers, capital projects, interfund transfers to fund capital project 8H401 Sagamore Road retaining wall. So how do we feel about this $100,000 coming out of contingency, or Mr. Lynch had suggested that it, okay, so Mike, you have something to say there.
I would strongly recommend that we take this out of fund balance. Contingency is getting kind of low, and we're still not near the end of the year yet. This is an important project. I think it needs to come out of surplus, not get. That would be my recommendation.
All right, so would someone like to make the motion to that effect? Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Garrity. Any more discussion?
Is $100,000 Is $100,000 going to be enough?
For the engineering cost.
Right.
That's what he asked me.
Any more discussion? Supervisor Bramer.
Thanks, and maybe I missed this. This is a county road. This Sagamore.
This is a bridge. Yes.
The road over the.
All right, Mr. Hay-Jones, I understand you're there with your hand in the air, although I can't see you. Would you like to speak to this?
Just real quick, I want to go back to Supervisor McDevitt's comment. It's this $100,000 is to cover the engineering cost and the engineering cost alone. I wanted to get this going first so that we can get the engineer on board to get this project designed fairly quickly. As I had stated in Public Works Committee, this total project may hit the limit of about $1 million. We may keep it less. I mean, we're only doing an estimate as of right now. And when we fine tune it, it may come down from that $1 million. But this $100,000 is to get the engineer started on the project. As I talked about in Public Works, is that this project is basically to repair the existing stone retaining wall that's there. One of the options was see if we can save the existing wall. It's not, as I explained, that wall has lasted a very long time, which we're all very surprised at. And on the Sagamore side of this road, it hasn't lasted. They replaced most of that at this point already. But on our side of the property, the wall has lasted quite a few times. But basically what it is a bunch of marble stacked on top of one another. They came out last year, and there's no way of putting them back. Think of, pulling out a bottom marble on a pile. The rest of it's going to come down. It's not necessarily safe at this point. It hasn't moved much more, but we need one significant rainstorm or freeze thaw this winter to cause the rest of that wall to come down, which would in turn cause no operations at the Sagamore. It would probably cause the water line and sewer line that run underneath the roadway in this area that cross the bridge underneath the bridge to possibly collapse and open up, and that would be into Lake George. Though the three items there, or the three different scenarios we had, was one, put in a precast concrete block retaining wall, two, put in a poured concrete retaining wall. Both of those would have caused us to go out into the lake by about approximately 12 feet. The third one was soldier pile lagging wall, which is the one that we're pushing, which is the more expensive one, but it's less intrusive to the Sagamore, less intrusive to water's edge, where their docks are up against or close to this wall. And this would be put in at the base of the existing wall, so that we would not go out into the lake. Although we're still going to have permitting through the Park Commission, DEC, Army Corps, everyone else. This would be less intrusive for us to go out and dig into Lake George. So again, the $100,000 is to get the engineer started on this, and then after that, we will be coming back to committee to, depending on where we can request the funding from, to do the repair on the wall for the contract when we get that in place for construction. But this is just to get the engineer started at this time.
Thank you for that clarification, Ken.
All right,
Yep.
Mr. Sproul, I understand your question.
Yeah, thank you. Kevin, since this is a singular project that engineering costs could go up to 100,000, are we putting this out for an RFP?
I am not putting this out for an RFP. We have term agreements with consulting engineering firms on staff. As you all are aware, because you can all use them also. We have multidisciplinary engineering firm on staff, which is Clark Patterson. We also have a structural engineering firm on staff, which would be our term agreement, which is with JMT or Spectra, they used to be called. And we would be using Spectra for this work.
All right, thank you, Mr. Conover. I see your hand.
Yeah, I just want to say, Kevin, that I think it's really important to move forward as quickly as possible. This whole area is very vulnerable. It's a spot. We have our sewer and water cross over to Green Island right here. Our utilities cross over right here. And it's the only access to Green Island. If we were to have an issue here, it would be a very serious matter. So the sooner I think we remedy this, the better. That would be my take on it.
Thank you, Mr. Conover. Supervisor.
And as far as Ms. Bramer's comment, I'm thankful it's not a town bridge. Thank you. Or Bram.
Supervisor Brand.
I'm sure you are, Supervisor Conover. I'm thinking that this is a big, big problem, and I understand that we need to get it fixed. Where it falls in the priority level for all of the other $1 million projects in the county, I'm just wondering that if, yes, it is the only access to Green Island, but it's not like, it is a major thoroughfare. And I'm wondering if we have approached the Sagamore to ask them for assistance. And the other question I'm thinking is, have we looked into any grant funding due to the fact that if we don't take care of this, there could be some lake impacts?
Mr. Hagros, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to couple points that Claudia just said. Number one, we have talked to the Sagamore, but their concern is don't impact their business. Period. The bridge is theirs. We're not doing anything with the bridge. This is the retaining wall that holds up our road. So the fact of the matter is, we talked to the Sagamore about it. They said, great, get it fixed, less impact to us. We're good to go. So I don't think they're going to foot the cost. As far as grant funding, I could conceivably go out and seek grant funding, but most of the roads that we have within Warren County are not federally aid eligible roads. They are basically just, if anything, county funded or CHIPS funding if we use it on any of our roads. There's I think 12 roads within Warren County that are federally eligible. So there's very little grants for us to do anything with this roadway or the impact of this. I mean, it's a county road and it's a county issue and it's a county problem. We just have to, I could never have told you that this wall was ever going to come down. We've inspected it, years on end. The wall looks good, but water has gotten in there. It's pushed the wall from being tapered back to almost being tapered towards the lake now. It's a failure and we need to fix it. I would do this or come back to you on any one of my roads that I had this problem on and say, I don't have the money in my budget to do it. And we need to find the money to be able to do this. So, but yes, we did approach the Sagamore and they said, the less impact to our business, great. And, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, just those of us that own bridges know that anytime you have to deal with a bridge, not a culvert, but a bridge, you get into very serious money very quickly. And that's part of the financial responsibility that we have of owning bridges. And we have two on Payden Road that I'm sure is going to run into the millions of dollars. And that's just part of what we do. Thank you.
Supervisor Braman, I think we'll end discussion.
Okay. I just want to be clear, Kevin Hagros, you said that the bridge is owned by the Sagamore.
That
The
is
bridge
correct.
over Green Island, is that correct?
That is correct. But the retaining wall that holds up the road is not owned by the Sagamore. That's a county road right up to the bridge, and that's owned by us.
Where are we talking about the retaining wall? Is it on the Green Island side of the bridge or on the land side?
It's on the Bolton side of the bridge, not on the Green Island side of the bridge.
Is it before or after Sawmill Lane? Is it to the west or east of Sawmill Lane?
If you were on 9N and you were to take a turn onto Sagamore Road and drive Sagamore Road towards the Sagamore Resort, the road that is owned by the county runs right up to the bridge. As soon as you hit the bridge and go across the bridge, that is owned by the Sagamore. So we own right up to the bridge on the, I guess I want to say the east side of the road or the west side of the road.
West.
It's going to be as you're driving out towards the Sagamore, before you get to the bridge, you're looking at the bridge, it's going to be on your left.
on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
there
where the,
there's a
where the
little-
marina is.
There's a marina there.
Kevin, this might be a stupid thing, but I know people get nostalgic about the way things look, and there's some stones there that, and people like the look of those. I don't know if there's any use for those materials when this project is done, and if there's not, I wonder if maybe we could auction those off or something. It would seem like something that a person in Bolton that's conscious of history might be able to use those for a home project or something.
When we put the project out to bid, we can certainly put in the proposal to the contractor that the stone retaining wall could be saved. We could store it, or and then the county could put out a bid to sell it, or we could pass it on to a historical society. I think if we were to offer it up to any public, I think we'd have to offer it up to anybody and their brother to want to take it. So we'd probably put something out as a bid or something to purchase. But absolutely, we could put in a contract to have the contractor save those because they are historic. Most of those, or some of those, have been there since the late 18 or early 1800s or late 1800s.
Good idea. All right, we have a motion on the floor, a second to the motion. I think we'll vote on it now. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm opposed.
All right, noted. All right, carried. Thank you. All right, let's go on to M. Request to create capital project H401 Sagamore Road retaining wall in the amount of $100,000.
I'll move it.
Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Parks, Recreation, and Railroad. Request for a transfer of funds in the amount of $4,600 from the contingent account budget code A.1990469 to budget code A.7113417 railroad, water, sewer, taxes to cover tax and utility costs associated with the Warren County Railroad. Someone would like to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Molino. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, we'll move on to 9, referral from the Support Services Committee, weights and measures. Request for a transfer of funds in the amount of $21,985.66 from the contingent account to budget code A.6610110, weights and measures, salaries regular to cover the shortfall caused by the retirement payout to the prior director of weights and measures. So I'm going to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Simpson, seconded by...
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sprout. Any discussion? All those in favor? Or questions?
I just want to say, it really isn't tied to the resolution, but I did see the information that John Lehman put out about Jeff Woodall refiguring the back of the truck and saving us, saving the taxpayers in Warren County, put a bit of money in outfitting his truck, and that was nice.
It was. Good. All right, thank you. Moving on. Okay. Did we vote or not? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Request from the clerk of the board. Request for a transfer of funds in the amount of $59,000 from the contingent account budget code A.1990469 to budget code A.1185437 medical examiners and coroners medical fees. All but approximately $300 of the $100,000 budget has been expended today, although actual expenses are unknown based on charges incurred in 2019. It is estimated $59,000 may cover costs for the remainder of 2020, and Amanda did explain that to us earlier. So if someone would like to bring that to the floor, Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Molino. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. 11, request items to be discussed by the county administrator. It's all yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I forget, just to give you a quick gym update, because I said I would when we talked about this at the board meeting. We've had 25 gyms fill out applications to be reopened. That's the first step. We don't deny it as long as the application's complete, then they're clear to be reopened and we schedule the inspection. So those 25 gyms, 23 of them were ready to reopen right away, and 2 of them are holding off. We have inspectors assigned to all 23 of those gyms that are ready. And we've so far gotten 8 inspection reports back that gyms passed inspection. There was only 1 gym so far that had an issue, and that was with their ability to certify that they were HVAC compliant. I believe that gym is getting some feedback from the State Department of Health because those rules are quite confusing. So we expect that to be rectified within the next couple of days. The fact that we only have 8 doesn't mean that those are the only 8 that are done. We do have inspectors out in the field that are compiling, their folders, and they just haven't dropped off their forms yet. So far the process has gone really well. 25 is a better number than we initially thought we might have. And I think what's happening is a lot of the smaller gyms that don't necessarily have 24-hour staff are looking at that requirement and trying to figure out whether it's worthwhile for them to reassign staff to those gyms so they can reopen the gyms. So that's why we haven't had a massive influx, and so far the workload here is manageable. The second piece, 11A, is the typical journal report of transfers that we approved at the staff level. Are there any questions on those? Okay, B, this piece, the next 2 pieces, B and C. These are, we talked earlier a little bit about when the insurance company handles a case for us that goes into litigation, what our responsibilities are and what the insurance company's responsibilities are. The insurance companies will pay legal costs. We are on the hook to pay damages and settlements up to the deductible on our policy. So if you flip back in your packet, you will see this is item 11, as I said, 11B and C. And we had 3 invoices come in last year. The first one is under 11B, and you'll see that that one is in the amount of $50,000. This is for the McNulty case. The board authorized a settlement in this case. It was either last year or late in 2018. And this is the $50,000 that we owe towards the expenses for that because the deductible is $50,000. We were billed last September for that, and the fiscal year closed before the bill was paid. Likewise, the other 2 that are on here, if you flip your page over to item 11C, the first one is in the amount of $2,500, which is within the $10,000 deductible. This case is this is the Hubert case. This is the DPW related case, and the third one is Gem Holding Corporation. That is a case that involved the county attorney's office going back a couple of years. We owe $5,884.49 on that one. We're not required to take any board action on that one because the expense was absorbed within the county attorney's current budget. There was I believe the county attorney was able to reassign outside counsel appropriation to cover that one. But the other 2, we do not have appropriations to pay at this time. So we would be requesting $50,000 to be appropriated from the insurance reserve to cover the first case, the McNulty case, and for $2,500 to be transferred within the DPW budget to cover the Hubert case.
Now, can we put those 2 together to do a resolution?
Yes.
All right, so for B and C, would someone like to make that motion? Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Milano. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Item D is to authorize the deficit reduction program. What we decided to do for this is we're going to handle it by a budget transfer, and we're going to create a second, a distinct contingency account that's demarcated where it's not the usual contingency account where we pull money to fill holes, where it's a separate lined out contingency account that's marked as part of the deficit reduction program. And the idea of making it a separate account is so that the goal here is not to have to transfer any of this money back into the operating budget. The goal is to move these appropriations out and then let the end of the year close and these appropriations all roll back into fund balance. I don't know, I apologize for not knowing, Tammy, do we have is that final yet? It's not. So we're going to have to put, yeah, we'll postpone this unless, I doubt that this committee wants to act on something where you haven't seen all the details and had time to digest it. So we can postpone any action on this item. It was our intention to have that full plan to you in advance of this meeting, at least a couple of days, so you had time to look at it. But we were not able to make the stars align on that one and get it done. So we'll bring that back to you at a different date. Any questions on that before we move on? I mean, part of it, for instance, will be what the action that the Occupancy Tax Committee took the other day to cancel the spending plan for this year on the tax distributions. So there's a whole lot that's in there, and it's just a matter of we have to do more homework to make sure that the money is there in the accounts. We don't want to have you transfer funds that are already spoken for. That'll be probably at the end of the day between $3.5 and $4 million would be the total size of this program. Where does that leave me? E, F, G, and H are all public works items, and I'd like to turn it over to Kevin or whomever wants to speak. Okay.
For all. I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Garrity. Now, do we want to hear from Mr. Hayes also for a minute on those? Okay. Evan?
These are contracts that'll come in on September 17th. They'll come in just before the board meeting on the 18th. This would be to award the contracts for plumbing, HVAC, general construction, and electrical work for we're calling it, we used to call it 3, 4, and 5 for the court expansion. We're just doing it kind of 3A, 3B, 3C. This is basically going to cover the work associated with the Supreme Court judge area, the court clerk's area, and then eventually the DA's office. We were originally going to take on a lot of this work earlier this year in-house on ourselves, more of the GC work. But when the pandemic hit, it kind of put things on hold for us to be able to do that work and to make sure that everybody gets moved into their areas where they should be. If my guys were to start the work, what most likely would end up happening is we get into snow and ice season and it'd be put on hold, then picked back up and put on hold. And we thought that would be a conflict with some of the electrical work or plumbing work, which we would have to do with contractors outside of the county. So it would be a nightmare trying to schedule that. So we feel it's easier just to have this all out to bid. Of course, we always award to the lowest responsive bidder. And again, I will have those bid sheets, tab sheets come in on the 17th, and I will make sure that you all have them for the board meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Did you have something?
Just one other piece. Kevin, we already talked about this offline, but I wanted to make sure that we discussed it here as well. The demands on the space over in the court facilities, we do have certain necessities from a county point of view, which first and foremost among them is the ability to continue grand jury proceedings. So we want to move forward with the understanding that this is not going to mess up Jason Carazone's ability to conduct a grand jury. And we want to make sure that OCA understands that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can add on to that a little bit. They submitted a plan for starting to have jury deliberations back or court or proceeding with a jury. Their plan may change a little bit when we start to do the work, but we will make sure that they have, the space that they need for whenever they do their grand jury and things like that. We're mainly going to use the temporary court space for, and I just run through it real quick, for Judge Offerdu's area. He's going to be moved to the temporary court space with his staff. One of his staff is already over there. Him and his secretary will be moved over there as well. then they'll do that work first. That will be wrapped up by December 31st. That's what we have in the contracts right now when we go to award this. Then from that point on, we will move him back into his space, and we will take the county court clerk's area and their staff and move them into the temporary space. That'll be about 2 weeks after we get Judge Appr back into his space. And then the contractors will be back in, and they're set at a deadline of April, I believe, to have that work completed for the court clerk and get them moved back in. And then right after that, we'll start the work for the DA's area. And probably by no later than I think September, we will have the DA's in his office. But we will limit the impacts for them doing any type of grand jury proceedings.
Thanks.
Good. All right, so we'll act on, was it D, E, F, G, and H?
EFGH.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry, Claudia.
That's okay. I was gonna ask Kevin, what the impact to our budget is, the added cost, if any, on having the general contract work be bid out instead of done in-house.
There probably will be a little added extra cost above and beyond what we would normally do if we were doing the work. We always intended on putting out the electrical, HVAC, and plumbing work as bids. We were thinking that we would do most of the sheetrock demolition work in-house. I don't have a ballpark number, but I do have money left in the core project to be able to do this work. And we don't even think we're going to come close to the funding that's in that project right now.
Okay, that was my question. And I think that's a good choice then, to keep it streamlined so that the disruption is as little as possible.
Yep.
Okay, now, was there anyone opposed to that motion? All right, then we'll say it's carried. We'll move on to I.
Move I and J.
I'll second.
Second.
All right,
Janelle is here. I and J is basically the state is getting the local health departments geared up to handle coronavirus and influenza at the same time. And connected to that is they're making available immunization action program grants to help us, and that's a public education grant. That's to help us get the message out about making sure people are prepared for flu season. Is that correct, Janelle?
Yes, that's correct. And the day after our committee meeting, we got notification of the additional funding, and we didn't want to wait because we wanted to take advantage of the outreach and education to get people immunized against flu in preparation of immunizing against COVID.
all right, thank you. All right, so then we have a motion and a second. We'll vote on that. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. The Finance Committee is required and the following items approved by the Personnel and Administration Committee. Agenda items 2A, B, 3, 4, and 5.
Just a note, we've jockeyed around the personnel administration agenda quite a bit this month. So the attachment is the correct attachment, but the numbers in this item are wrong. You're actually approving items 3A through B, 4, 5, and 6.
Can you say that one more time?
It's 3A through B, 4, 5, and 6. It just was off a number.
I requested my agenda to go first, so therefore you just got to add one to each of those numbers.
All right, so would someone like to make that motion? Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Barry. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. There are no pending items. Mr. Lehman, I don't know if you have anything from anyone?
Hello, Supervisor Frazier. There is no comment on YouTube as of right now, but it appears Mr. Supervisor Conover has a question.
Oh, he does. Mr. Conover.
Yeah, Kevin, that bridge that on Paynear Road that there's been talk about our acquiring, Bolton acquiring from the county. Just generally, how much money would we be talking about in terms of that acquisition? Just a ballpark. You got to take your, go ahead.
I believe right now that the cost of the bridge that we purchased and we're going to use up there that we're going to sell to the town of Bolton, if they so choose to buy it, would be just a little over $100,000, I believe.
$100,000. And see, you know, those of us that have bridges, we're happy to do that for the county. They've got a bridge that they really don't have any use for. We have the need for a bridge. We could go out and buy a new bridge, but instead we're happy to help the county out. And I just wanted to make sure that that was understood, that these highway departments work together continually on improvements within the county. And I just wanted to make that point because I don't think communities should be held hostage when there's emergency infrastructure situations. I think that we need to step out. We need to step out accordingly. And I don't think we need to be parochial when we do that. And I just think I needed to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conover. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Supervisor Simpson, second.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, I'm sorry.
Just, I don't know if anybody noticed the postcard put out the occupancy tax numbers.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, they're wrong. One of the numbers is wrong. It said 36,000. It was only 18 for the county. For the county. I just, you know, I got a call on a question on that, but they had the numbers wrong. I don't know if anybody here looks at
I'm
it.
surprised.
If Mr. Lehman would call him and tell him to refinalize it the right way.
Well, now I need a second motion to adjourn.
Well, just
Are
on
you
that note, I
another
don't,
question?
thank you, Chairman. I don't know if anyone saw the article about Washington County entering the contract with Airbnb.
We also
So I'm hopeful that we can get that moving along here in Warren County.
All right, second to the motion to adjourn. Supervisor Melino, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
I think watching me, I wait till you.
I'm like too shy.